When I was young, I was surrounded by people who I understood to be miserable. And I was confused because as a kid, it felt like life was easy and things were simple and we were here to have fun and enjoy each other's company. And to some extent, that was based in a naive understanding of the world. However, I still believe that that's possible. And the more I let go of the concepts and patterns I was taught by those people who thought life was miserable and difficult, the more I realized that that little child I used to be was correct in a way that a lot of the adults around me were never able to understand. Some of this deals with the nature of reality, which I talk about in a different video, but a lot of this also comes down to mental health. I know it's fun, at least for me, to talk about these big concepts like consciousness and reality and everything, but I also understand that in our daily life, it's not always so simple to remove yourself from the equation, like the individual that you are walking around as. And that individual does typically have things to move through, whether that's processing emotions or trauma or working on habits that, like removing habits that no longer serve them or creating habits that are more beneficial. And so I don't think that, understanding yourself as the universe and just transcending all of your problems is the way to go or even possible. I think there is a balance to be had because we wouldn't be here in these physical bodies and physical minds if we weren't meant to work with those also. And so mental health is like a huge aspect of this. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I grew up in an environment full of adults with mental health issues. And that passes on to the kids, and then the kids grow up and they have mental health issues and they don't know how to deal with them, and so they pass them on to their children, and then we get into a situation where everyone is having these issues with no idea what to do about them, and we're just unconsciously projecting all of our problems onto the people around us and creating more chaos than there actually needs to be. And always the first step is to look at ourselves and see how are we contributing to this problem. Before I was around 22, I had no concept of any of this. I knew, for example, that there were members of my family who were depressed, and there were members of my family who were neurodivergent and process things in different ways, but that is basically all I knew. I always thought it was interesting that people had different perspectives, and I was always curious about how that could be when we're supposedly all looking at one objective reality. But whenever I was younger, there wasn't all of this conversation around mental health and, different ways that people process stuff and everything. I had to discover that on my own, which was by accident, and then get really obsessed with it to learn more and to experiment with it and to ask these questions that no one around me whenever I was growing up ever really asked. And so that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this kind of stuff on this channel, because your whole life is dictated by your mental health. And everything you do in life is dictated by that as well. Mental health is your biggest asset in everyday life while you're walking around your house and taking your dog on a walk or taking your cat outside or whatever, all the way to business and creativity and all of these things that people partake in. And so I think this is a subject that we can't ignore. And I know that it tends to be very opaque and it feels like understanding the mind or psychology or even topics like the nature of reality are saved for, a small group of people who like go to school for a certain topic or have enough time to sit around and like really contemplate these things. But I don't think that's fundamentally true. And I think that if more of us were to learn how to take care of ourselves and our minds and to see things more clearly, that all of us would be in a better position to support each other, communicate. It would facilitate understanding and creativity and everything that makes us human. And that's why I'm super passionate about mental health and tying in that mental health with the nature of self and the nature of reality, because you can't separate those things. They're all connected, and we can think of them as like different levels of experience, but we experience them all the time without thinking about it more often than not. And yeah, I'm just really excited to continue to explore these things. And if that's something that you're interested in following along with, feel free to subscribe and look out for future videos. But I'm really excited to start unpacking these at a higher level, but also a practical level, because I think that's what is missing a lot of times, is how do we take these sometimes very ethereal concepts and live them in our everyday experience, because that's where it counts and makes the most difference, because that's all we have is our everyday experience, no matter what that experience might look like. So yeah, that's it for this one. I am sending you all the good vibes, and I hope to see you in upcoming videos. If not, I wish you the best. And yeah, bye.